Naomi never expected the words to come from her own mother. It was an ordinary Sunday evening, the kind where the family sat in the living room after dinner, the TV humming in the background. She was scrolling through her phone, half listening to her younger brother's jokes, when her mother's voice cut through the noise. "Next month, you shall pay rent." The room went quiet. Her cousins who had stopped by for a visit froze mid-laughter. Even her younger brother, Daniel, stopped talking. Naomi blinked, unsure she heard correctly. "Mom?" she asked softly. Her mother did not look at her. She adjusted her wrapper, crossed her arms, and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "You are not a child anymore. You live here, you eat here, you use light and water. From next month, you must start contributing. Rent is not free." The word struck Naomi like a slap. She had always worked hard, always tried to support the house in her own way, buying groceries when she could, paying for her brother's school supplies, even sneaking small money into her father's hands when he looked. She did it quietly, never keeping count, never asking for praise. Yet here was her own mother, throwing her under the weight of shame before everyone. Her cousins shifted uncomfortably. Daniel's eyes darted from his sister to their mother, as though searching for a way to rescue Naomi. But no one spoke. Naomi's chest tightened. 100 thoughts ran through her mind: anger, disbelief, pain. She wanted to scream, to remind her mother of the sacrifices she had made. But the words stuck in her throat. All she could feel was the sting of humiliation. Her mother's voice carried on, sharp and clear. "Other people your age are already married or living on their own. You are here, eating our food, sitting in this house as if it is a hotel. You must pay your share." Naomi looked at her mother, really looked, and something shifted inside her. This was not just about money. It was about power. It was about her mother making sure everyone knew who controlled the house. The silence grew heavier. Naomi could feel the eyes of her cousins burning into her skin, waiting for her reaction. Daniel whispered her name, Naomi, his voice small, almost pleading. She sat up straight, her voice calm but cold. "If rent is what you want, then rent you shall have," she said. Her words hung in the air, colder than the evening breeze slipping through the open window. Her cousins gasped. Even her mother paused, her lips tightening, as if Naomi's answer carried a meaning she had not expected. Inside, Naomi's heart was breaking, but outwardly she held her mother's gaze unflinching. For the first time, she allowed the silence to work in her favor. Something deeper had been set in motion, and everyone in that room could feel it. That night would not be forgotten. Hier fiebs dien upside he's loyal nieuws de paarslaffies. Snemom elkernid. Ik hoor jelle final first sush Laura das leid. Verdas die snare for heller vanish. Not see the heller das in this past. Ja, die retzen is toch zie der himoyen. Om do is gelle for him is in the not aller redil my fabro. Snem yo besit no ze have my idea. Snel as in the fall. Her da for habro. Hoi nice dabro. Het dacht ze wat like het caps really fit nem heel fit op een wiel vergis de verstand de net beneden alweer aller het al op other always durfing kouden zie nislim no erg maar ze zit er very fast op bang geven is damage wat no without side den sen erg op de meer warms seeps no erg van is damage al nas nem erg was er schip floors dus feels ze zo in ook op zagen ja meer de werk bij hem in lust neesh dupsing het no we bem gewiel Mother loops the dash dish. See my and which best there was it. The neppen is cat nyash for that snell of air give the shisha. Say neighbor for ishnama. Swahan and eat the hishnama. Fame my and yammer duish. Beast ducks there were. Had your fast time in your soon. So I'll wonder with. Say up say by in the lower answer with them. Quam see the hill so I had left in the fall man the didn't nest. I thought them doesn't she was knocker what's that. Snare wishing a name is with them. So say for cast was your fat wine. Animal her van zo snel door dammer. Ik hoor dat ze snel. Zij mist side the line door dammer. Stroost te fly my envy. Heard I've not the last to slide on my steder nammer door dammer. Stare de agi my envy. Fan her vet zong het. Stern het sir dammer hemer van de slaf my en. De last mer. Ner fit zo dammer the vision schiller. Thirst the fact was the fast we. De alpers. Heard I bring it no sarwa. Nurse nix help stat. Heel keep lamsish. Wist service dini. He does it the word of day. And it woke up when the will be me out that the field selfish no. Snow were lofty. There are who screwy. He moyen. I leave them the surf was at up. Heard Albert was at such honor he said me soon how we know it. Healer for Costication will easily. Stay shall worth the witness, serve what fell each Louis Mass must, or Friday Louis, near Nidras, Stale Moh make you sure Veno, or Feder Mafaki my end of their own blister night. Needs Cassilozui. Said on line night, you're the bringer. Crazy little leather, he'll my for the third walls with flustering his nibn. He'll lay out gross these serpils douche. Evo should him revenge. Fara healing ropes the allen of slave revakastro. He's met some stick in the blue fab. Scopes castling at your fair, but Matsuish. Nay, her and it's servants in her earth swim. Shah, your scuttle lurfs, the sergeant near running his loaf. Bashing the looks in there for the blast mouth mussish. Snack you not. And we in there's lush reduced. Yeah, then your stick armor was set as her wang all growish. Snail from Batham is Betsy Moyen. All based in the roof, be healer, big sense of near slumps through them. The underfoot so much spalks this 9 alf seal my fin. Her healers are used to bash this taller the offer. Yeah, with this mirrors to it. No, if a sensitive lumps sing it out in the V beam. And the shake is there near their foot mirrors to him in. Oh, sing a shin if for fat. Air hope beep some that he live the snaps are over off there. We are goes up first that theme, but sensitive bird in More make her with no must. Here and wrote me see das line. So Garcher have his own game and did she color when fall beep among even after. Her old fino to wish. He'll my fan the thingers stay out in the zoo at a himoyan. It was a Thursday evening when Naomi's world shifted again. She had come home tired from work, her shoes dusty, her head aching. She dropped her bag in her room and went to the kitchen to get water. On her way back, she heard voices coming from the veranda. Her mother and her aunt were sitting there, talking in low tones, but the words carried clearly in the still night. At first Naomi wanted to pass by quietly, but something in her mother's tone made her pause. She stood in the shadow near the doorway, listening. "This girl is becoming too stubborn," her mother was saying. "She thinks she is a woman because she works small money. Every time she carries herself as if we depend on her. It is dangerous." Her aunt chuckled. "That's how these girls behave once they taste small independence. If you are not careful, she will disgrace you one day. Better to remind her who owns this house." "I have already started," her mother replied, her voice sharp. "I told her she will pay rent. If she cannot, she should go and live on her own. She cannot stay here forever, acting as if she is better than everybody." Naomi froze, her breath caught in her throat. The words pierced her deeper than she expected. Better than everybody? Was that truly how her mother saw her? She had given up so much to support the house, yet this was what they thought of her. Her aunt leaned closer. "Push her small, sister. Let her go. If she gets her own place, she will learn life is not easy. And if she fails, she will come crawling back. Either way, she will be humbled." Her mother sighed. "That is my plan. She must learn she is not the head of this family. She must not outshine her brothers or make me look weak. She is still a child." The conversation burned into Naomi's ears. She wanted to step out, confront them, demand why her sacrifices were being twisted into arrogance. But she could not move. She stood there, heart pounding, until her aunt changed the subject. Then she slipped back into her room, silent as a shadow. Alone in the darkness, Naomi sat on her bed, trembling. Betrayal wrapped around her like a cold blanket. It wasn't just about rent anymore. Her own mother wanted her out, not because of money, but because she feared Naomi's strength. She feared Naomi's independence. Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. Crying would not solve anything. If this was truly how they saw her, then she had to rethink her place in the house. For years, she believed family would see her heart, her sacrifices. Now she understood. Some people only see what they want. The pain hardened into something else, resolve. If they wanted her to pay, then she would pay, but not in the way they imagined. She would not hand over her salary to prove herself. She would not let them control her with shame and false authority. No, she would find her own way. That night, Naomi pulled out an old notebook and began to write. She listed her expenses, her small savings, the amount she could set aside each month. It wasn't much, but it was something. She would need patience, but she could do it. She began sketching the outline of her escape. A room of her own, rent paid directly by her, no one able to throw her out. For the first time in years, her thoughts carried a dangerous kind of clarity. She realized her mother's words had given her a strange gift, the push she needed to stop waiting and start planning. She whispered to herself in the quiet room, "If they want me gone, I will go. But I will go on my own terms." And as she lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling, Naomi knew the days of silently enduring were numbered. Something inside her had broken, but in its place, something stronger was beginning to rise. The next morning, Naomi could hardly look at her mother without hearing those words again. She must not outshine her brothers. She is still a child. The betrayal echoed in her ears. She tried to focus on her chores, tried to push it aside, but the weight of it followed her everywhere. That evening, while her mother was folding clothes in the living room, Naomi finally gathered the courage to speak. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "Mom, I overheard you and Ani last night," she said quietly. "I know what you think of me, that I am proud, that I'm trying to outshine everyone. But that's not true. All I have ever done is help this family." Her mother's face darkened immediately. She dropped the cloth she was folding and glared at Naomi. "So now you are eavesdropping on me? Is that what you do, hiding behind doors like a thief?" "That's not the point," Naomi pressed, her voice breaking slightly. "I've worked, I've sacrificed, I've given everything I can. Yet you still treat me like a burden. Do you even see me, Mom? Do you even know how much I've done for this house?" Her mother's lips tightened. "What have you done that is so great? You think buying small groceries makes you a savior? You think paying for ordinary textbooks makes you a parent? Let me remind you, Naomi, this is my house. Without me, you wouldn't even be standing here." The words stung like fire. Naomi's chest rose and fell rapidly, anger mixing with sorrow. But she realized then that no explanation would ever satisfy her mother. It was not about the truth. It was about control. The tension did not end there. Slowly, the whole family began to split into sides. Her elder sister, Ada, stood firmly with their mother. Ada repeated their mother's words, saying Naomi had grown too bold and needed to be humbled. But Daniel, her younger brother, defended Naomi whenever he could. "She's the one keeping this family afloat," Daniel argued one evening when the conversation turned sour at the dinner table. "You all act like you don't know, but half of what we eat comes from her money. Why do you treat her like she owes more?" "Shut your mouth," their mother snapped. "Don't speak where adults are talking. You're beginning to sound like her, disrespectful." Dinner became a war zone. What used to be small chatter over rice and stew turned into arguments, whispered accusations, and silence so heavy it felt like stones pressing on Naomi's chest. Sometimes she didn't even bother sitting with. She ate alone in her room, telling herself it was better than choking on words she couldn't say. Yet even in the chaos, Naomi kept her plan alive. She cut back on small pleasures, saving every naira she could. She stopped taking buses sometimes, choosing to walk long distances to save transport money. She accepted extra tutoring sessions, even when her eyes burned from exhaustion. Every coin went into a small metal box hidden beneath her clothes. Each time she dropped money inside, she whispered to herself, "This is for freedom." But the more she tried to hold her head high, the more her mother seemed determined to break her. There were sharp comments in front of relatives. "Naomi thinks she is better than us because she earns her own money." There were cold silences when Naomi greeted her in the morning, met with only a shrug. Sometimes there were cutting questions. "So when will you get married? Or will you stay here forever, disturbing us?" The abuse wasn't loud enough for outsiders to call it abuse. It was quieter, sharper, like knives carefully pressed against her skin. And it wore her down piece by piece. One night, after another argument at dinner, Naomi locked herself in her room and broke down. Daniel knocked on her door softly. "Naomi, please open," he begged. She wiped her tears quickly and opened the door. Daniel stepped in, his face worried. "You can't keep letting them talk to you like this. You deserve better. I hate watching this happen to you." Naomi pulled him into a hug. "I'm trying, Danny," she whispered, "but you know I can't leave you here. You're the only one who understands me." His voice cracked as he replied, "I'll be fine. You need to think of yourself too." Those words stayed with her long after Daniel left her. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe it wasn't selfish to want peace. Maybe leaving wasn't betrayal, it was survival. Still, the battles continued. Her mother became sharper, Ada more hostile. Sometimes Naomi felt like she was living in a house that was no longer hers, walking on eggshells, waiting for the next attack. Yet inside her heart, something steady was building. Every insult, every cruel word, every cold look only added fuel to her quiet fire. The box of savings under her clothes grew heavier each week. She didn't tell anyone, not even Daniel, how close she was getting. And though the abuse hurt deeply, Naomi found herself clinging to one clear thought. If they want me to pay rent, I will. But not in this house. Never again in this house. The confrontation came on a Sunday when the house was full. Uncles, aunties, cousins, all gathered for a family meeting. The sitting room was crowded, laughter and chatter filling the air as people ate and drank. Naomi tried to stay quiet, sitting in a corner with Daniel, but she knew from her mother's stiff posture that something was brewing. It started casually. One of her uncles asked how the family was managing with expenses. Naomi's mother leaned forward, her voice loud and proud. "We are fine," she said. "I have been carrying this house on my shoulders, as usual. But now I have told Naomi she must pay her share. She is old enough. She has enjoyed this house for free for too long." The room grew quiet. Heads turned toward Naomi. She felt her stomach twist. Her mother's words had been sharp before, but never so public. Her aunt, the same one Naomi had overheard weeks ago, added, "Yes, that is how it should be. At her age, she should even have her own house. It is shameful to still depend on her parents." Naomi's cheeks burned. She glanced at Daniel, who shook his head slowly, his eyes pleading with her to stay calm. But her mother was not finished. "She must pay rent this month," she announced, her voice firm. "If she cannot, then she must pack her things and leave this house." The words cut through the air like a knife. Some relatives murmured, others looked at Naomi with pity. Ada smirked, clearly enjoying her sister's humiliation. Naomi stood slowly, her legs trembling but her voice steady. "So this is what it has come to. You want me to pay rent or leave?" "Yes," her mother snapped, her eyes flashing. "And I am saying it before everyone, so you will not pretend you did not hear me. Choose rent or the door." The room held its breath. Naomi reached down into her bag and pulled out a brown folder. Her mother frowned, confused. Naomi held it up, her eyes sweeping across the room. "I already chose," she said quietly. She opened the folder and pulled out a set of documents. "This is the lease agreement for my own apartment. I signed it 2 weeks ago. Next week I move out." Gasps filled the room. Her mother's eyes widened, then narrowed. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Naomi placed the papers on the table for everyone to see. The landlord's signature, the receipt for her first rent payment, it was all there. "You wanted me to pay rent," she continued, her voice clear. "I will. But not here. Never again here." The room erupted in whispers. Some of the relatives looked impressed, others shocked. Her aunt's smile faded. Ada's face twisted in disbelief. Daniel's eyes shone with pride, though he kept silent. But Naomi wasn't finished. She reached back into the folder and pulled out a stack of receipts, electricity bills, water bills, even the slip for the new generator. She placed them on the table one by one. "While you've been telling everyone you are the one carrying this house, it has been me," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "These bills. I paid them. That generator you said you bought? I saved for months to buy it. The food that shows up in the kitchen when there is nothing left? That's me too. I have been supporting this family quietly, without complaint, without demanding recognition. And yet here I am, being told I am a burden." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Her mother's face turned red, her mouth opening and closing without word. Naomi's hands shook as she continued. "I never spoke because I thought family meant sacrifice. I thought family meant we protect one another. But I see now that in this house, family means power, control, humiliation." She looked around the room, her eyes shining with tears she refused to let fall. "I will not stay here to be broken anymore." Her mother slammed her hand on the table. "You dare to embarrass me in front of everyone? After everything I have done for you?" Naomi met her gaze, calm but unyielding. "Yes, you raised me, and I am grateful. But I refuse to let gratitude be a chain around my neck. I will leave, and I will build my life in peace. You wanted rent. You will get freedom instead." The relatives sat frozen, unsure whether to speak. Daniel stood up quietly and walked over to his sister, standing beside her in silent support. That small gesture gave Naomi strength. She gathered her papers back into the folder and held it close to her chest. "I am moving out," she said simply. "This is my final answer." Then she sat back down, her heart pounding but her spirit lighter than it had been in years. The battle had finally exploded, but for the first time, Naomi felt like she was no longer the one losing. The morning Naomi left was quiet. She woke up before the sun, the house still wrapped in sleep. She packed her small box carefully, just clothes, her notebooks, and the folder with her papers. She did not take much. It wasn't about things, it was about freedom. Daniel slipped into her room while she was folding the last of her clothes. His eyes were red, as if he hadn't slept. "So it's really today," he whispered. Naomi nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, Danny. I can't stay here any longer." He sat on the bed, staring at the floor. "It won't be the same without you. Who will I talk to? Who will stay up with me when I can't sleep?" Naomi knelt in front of him and held his hand. "You'll be fine. You're stronger than you think. And I'm not disappearing. You can visit me anytime. My door will always be open for you. Tears slipped down his cheeks. He tried to wipe them quickly, embarrassed, but Naomi hugged him tight. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence said everything. When she finally pulled away, she pressed something into his hand, a small key. This is for you. My new place. Anytime you need peace, anytime you just want to breathe, you can come. Daniel looked at the key, then at her. I'll miss you, Naomi. I'll miss you too, she whispered. She carried her box out through the sitting room. Her mother was awake by then, standing by the doorway. The look on her face was unreadable, anger mixed with something softer, though quickly hidden. So you're really leaving, her mother said, her voice cold. Yes, Naomi replied simply. You think you can survive out there without this family? You'll come running back when life humbles you. Naomi paused, the weight of her box heavy in her hands. She turned to face her mother fully. Maybe life will humble me. Maybe I'll struggle. But I'd rather struggle in peace than live here in chains. Her mother's mouth tightened, but she said nothing more. Naomi walked out, her steps steady. The first days in her new apartment were strange. The room was small, the walls bare, the mattress thin. She ate plain noodles for dinner and used a bucket for bathing. But every time she locked her own door, every time she cooked her own meal without hearing complaints, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, peace. She began to heal in little ways. She decorated her window with the white curtains she once dreamed about. She bought a small second-hand desk and placed it by the window, exactly as she had imagined. She worked hard, but now when she came home tired, the space welcomed her instead of weighing her down. In the quiet, she started to hear her own thoughts again. She journaled at night, writing about her pain, her hopes, her plans. Slowly, the anger faded, replaced by strength. Of course, her mother called. The first time, Naomi ignored it. The second time, she picked up. Come back home, her mother said flatly. Stop pretending you can do this alone. Naomi closed her eyes, listening to the familiar tone of control. But when she spoke, her voice was calm. I am not pretending, Mom. I am living. I am free. And I will not return to the same pain. Her mother's voice rose, but Naomi gently ended the call. She sat in the silence afterward, her heart pounding, but she did not cry. She realized then that she had truly crossed over. There was no going back. Daniel visited her a week later. When he stepped into her little apartment, he smiled. It's small, he said, but it feels like home. Naomi laughed softly. That's because it is. It's mine. For the first time in a long while, Naomi felt whole. She had walked through betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak. But standing in her own space, she knew she had found something greater than approval. She had found hers. One evening, Naomi sat by the window of her small apartment, the city lights flickering in the distance. The room was quiet except for the hum of the ceiling fan. She held her journal in her lap, but instead of writing, she simply stared outside, letting her thoughts flow. She thought about the girl she used to be, the one who stayed up late working 2 jobs, the one who carried the weight of the house without ever asking for thanks. She thought about all the times she had swallowed her pain just to keep peace, all the times she believed silence was strength. And she thought about her mother's words, sharp as knives, meant to cut her down. For so long, Naomi had let those words shape her, trap her, convince her she was less. But not anymore. She realized now that walking away was not weakness. It was courage. She did not leave because she hated her family. She left because she finally understood she had the right to love herself too. In her heart, there was no desire for revenge. She did not wish her mother pain. What she wished for was peace. For herself, for Daniel, even for the ones who hurt her. But peace could not grow in a house where love was measured in control. Peace had to be built in freedom. Naomi whispered softly to herself, almost like a prayer. Sometimes leaving is the loudest way to love yourself. The words settled in the room like music. She felt them sink deep into her chest, washing away the last of her shame. For the first time in years, Naomi did not feel small. She did not feel invisible. She felt free. And in that freedom, she knew her story was just beginning. Hey besties. Thanks for sticking with me till the end of this emotional story. Imagine sacrificing everything for family, only for your own mom to demand rent and plot against you. Painful, right? But sometimes walking away is the only way to find peace and self-respect. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories. See you in the next one. Bye.